Passengers look around in fear, whispering, pointing, asking whether anyone else can see them. A holographic screen appears in the air, and panic spreads faster than smoke. But the protagonist is not only afraid, he is confused, because this scene feels familiar and wrong. He has read something like this before, in a novel almost nobody cared about. And just before the world collapses completely, he discovers an attached file. 3 ways to survive in a ruined world. The system tells him he has obtained an exclusive attribute. A skill slot opens. But when he reaches for the one thing that should explain everything, the attribute window refuses to appear. Then the command arrives. Main scenario number 1. Proof of value. Kill 1 or more living beings within the time limit. Reward: 300 coins. Failure: death. No one understands it at first, because the human mind rejects impossible rules. A man points toward the hovering blue cube, as if naming it will make it less terrifying. Someone asks for the army. Someone begs for help. But the answer is colder than any monster. No rescue is coming. The world they trusted has ended, and the new world has already written its first law. When the system warns that everyone will die unless the first death occurs, the crowd changes. Their fear begins searching for a target. Their morals do not vanish all at once. They crack in small, ugly pieces. One person says murder is wrong. Another says survival is different. And somewhere in that argument, the first real death is born, before anyone even moves. Yu Sangda sees the elderly woman in danger and reacts before calculation can stop her. That is what makes her bright. Even when the world changes genres, even when a normal subway becomes a death game, she still moves like someone from a better story. The protagonist knows that. He also knows something crueler. Yu Sangda is not the protagonist of this world. Wanting to save someone is not the same as having the power to change the plot. So he stops her. Not forever, not because he agrees with the violence, but because one reckless act will only add another victim to the floor. In his mind, he sees the scene like a paragraph from another world. Executioners pulling a lever together, each one hiding behind the crowd, so no single person has to carry the guilt. He waits, muscles tense, timing everything. And when Yu Sangda asks why he is doing nothing, his answer is not cowardice. Then the carriage explodes. Light floods the doors, metal bends. Bodies are thrown sideways as smoke and fire rip through the space where people were arguing about morality seconds earlier. The blast does not give them time to choose who they want to become. It chooses for them. In the middle of the chaos, the protagonist moves. He does not move like a random passenger. He cuts through the destruction with purpose, striking attackers, dodging debris, and using the confusion as cover. Someone hands off a mysterious item. Others search frantically for something hidden in the train. The explosion is not just disaster, it is opportunity. And for the protagonist, opportunity is the only reason to act, before the original sequence is fully understood. Among all the frightened passengers, Kim Na-moon stands out, because fear does not seem to slow him down. If anything, the new world sharpens him. He watches the old morals collapse, and adapts faster than the adults, who still believe help is coming. The protagonist studies him with character identification, and the system peels back the mask. 18 years old, abnormal adaptivity, knife fighting, dark tendencies, a mind built for the kind of world decent people cannot survive. Kim is not simply a violent teenager. He is a future variable, a weapon with a pulse. He offers cooperation, and for one dangerous second, it sounds useful. But usefulness is not trust. The protagonist understands that Kim Na-moon can help him survive one scenario. The passengers begin to fixate on the elderly woman, because a crowd under pressure always looks for the weakest point. But the protagonist cuts through the panic with a warning. Even if they kill her, they are not truly saved. The first death only satisfies one layer of the trap. It buys time. It creates a murderer. It does not erase the condition for everyone else. That realization spreads like cold water. If one death is not enough, then what comes after? Will they kill the person beside them? The person who helped them stand? The person crying in the corner? The white-haired threat only smiles, amused by the collapse. The game is not just forcing murder. It is forcing people to think ahead to the second, third, and fourth betrayal. Then the protagonist notices what everyone else overlooks. Insects. Small, ugly, panicked lives crawling through the ruins of the carriage. To the passengers, they are disgusting. To the survival game, they are valid. The wording never demanded a human victim, it demanded a living being. When the first insect dies and coins appear, the entire room seems to lose balance. The system confirms the loophole without emotion. Then comes the deeper horror. Insect eggs count too. One crushed cluster triggers reward after reward, each notification proving that the system values life only as a checkbox. Kim Na-moon laughs it off at first, but even he has to recognize what the protagonist has done. He has not made the scenario kinder, he has made it readable. In a world where everyone else reacts to fear, the protagonist reads the fine print. The temporary understanding with Kim Na-moon cannot survive the pressure of the scenario. Kim wants to move directly, to crush the weak point and advance. The protagonist blocks him. It is a small gesture, just a hand on an arm. But in the new world, even that is a declaration of war. Kim's favor drops. His amusement sharpens into hostility. A black-purple aura gathers around him as his exclusive skill activates, blackening. Then his knife comes out. The attack is fast, cruel, and enhanced by the system itself. The protagonist feels the blade bite and burn, but he does not break. Pain becomes information. Kim has talent. Kim has speed. Kim has the mentality to thrive in disaster. And that is exactly why the protagonist decides he cannot let him enter the next scenario unchecked. As Kim's attacks intensify and the timer keeps bleeding away, the protagonist reaches for the skill that should not exist in an ordinary human body. Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, Stage 1. The moment it activates, combat changes shape. He does not become invincible. He does not suddenly gain overwhelming strength. Instead, he begins to understand intention before motion fully arrives. A shoulder twitch becomes a warning. A shift in balance becomes a sentence. A blade path becomes something he can read. The enemy grows frustrated as attack after attack misses by a breath. But the limitation is just as important as the miracle. Stage 1 helps him evade. It does not hand him victory. With only minutes left, the protagonist is buying time in a scenario that kills anyone who cannot pay. The coin rewards from the insect loophole are not trophies, they are ammunition. The protagonist invests them immediately, pushing his physique upward with brutal efficiency. Level by level, his body becomes harder to destroy. Then the purple energy knife drives in. The attacker expects a fatal result. Instead, the blade meets a body that is changed faster than the enemy can understand. The protagonist still feels the impact. He still feels pain. But pain is different from death. The white-haired attacker hesitates, confused by a target that refuses to fall. And in that hesitation, the protagonist's resolve hardens. He will not become the first corpse of this game. Not here, not with less than a minute left. The final seconds do not feel like seconds. They feel like a verdict being lowered one number at a time. The protagonist stands amid fire, blood, and breathless survivors as the timer reaches 0. Then, the system announces payment settlement. The phrase sounds administrative, almost harmless, and that makes what follows feel even worse. The carriage erupts into screams and crimson consequence. Those who fail to satisfy the scenario are collected by the rules they tried to deny. When the noise fades, the result appears with mechanical calm. Main Scenario 1. Proof of value. Cleared. Bulguang Line. Train 3434. Compartment 3807. 5 survivors. Victory, in this world, is not applause. It is a number small enough to remember every face missing from it. After the first scenario, the protagonist expects answers. Instead, he gets another contradiction. The system confirms that an exclusive attribute has been obtained. A skill slot is active. In this world, unique attributes define the difference between future kings and future corpses. But when he tries to inspect his own status, the attribute window remains sealed. No explanation, no access. Then he opens the file. Words pour into him faster than they should. What once required careful reading becomes almost instantaneous comprehension. A dense document collapses into understanding in under a minute. His new power is not obvious violence. It is speed of information. In a world ruled by hidden rules, that may be more dangerous than any blade. A scan-like pulse flickers through his awareness, hinting that his ability to read people, places, and possibilities is only beginning. Then, his unease finds a number. 3707. A compartment connected to fire, bodies, vanishing movement, and a sequence that does not fully match what he remembers from the novel. The protagonist realizes his current position is behind the compartment where the original novel's protagonist should be. That detail should be simple. Instead, it feels like a fracture. If he is behind the story, then events may be unfolding without him. If the timeline has shifted, then his knowledge is still powerful, but no longer absolute. Yusana notices the danger too, and urges him to stop the people gathered near the rear door. The window is blurred. The lighter in his hand is cold. Beyond the door, survivors are already turning on each other again, and names like Manager Han Myung-go begin to matter. The protagonist stares